In the movie Viva Las Vegas, Elvis sings 9 songs, including the duet with Ann-Margret. So when the EP and the single came out around May 1964, probably no one ever expected to see a Viva Las Vegas LP. But back in 2010, we finally got one. I'm not talking about the FTD version, I'm talking about this one here, put out by Music on Vinyl. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about this album and discussing whether or not it's worth you getting a copy or not. This is one of a series of albums that they released in a series called At the Movies, and I'll just tell you a little bit about this company before looking at this release in more detail. So this information here comes from the website, and you can see down here it says it's 180 gram audiophile vinyl and it is a remastered audio. And about the sources that they use, it says down here, which masters do you use? We use the best audio available to cut our records. We receive and use different kinds of masters: analog tapes, original metal parts, lacquers cut from analog tapes, and high-res digital files. Music on Vinyl does not use CDs as masters. So I doubt very much whether they've used the original analog tapes, because it would have said so on the release somewhere. So this album probably comes from high-res digital files. So let's turn our attention to the album itself. There's a front cover looking very similar to the original EP front cover. There's one I've pulled out. This is a UK copy where they had the slightly different title of Love in Las Vegas. And the picture quality is good. The lettering looks a little bit blown up. You can see the edges are a little bit fuzzy, so it does have a sort of a blown up effect to it. It's probably just the CD artwork blown up. And speaking of the CD, I do have the CD copy, and this came with a box set called the movie soundtrack, which I'll just show you here. Decent little box set there. So the front cover is very good. However, the back cover is very disappointing when you consider how colourful the original 1960s soundtrack LPs were. And I guess they've just got this from the CD artwork. This is probably just the artwork that they were provided with by Sony at the time. So I don't especially blame Music on Vinyl for that. So what tracks are on here? I like the way that they've arranged the tracks on the album. On side 1, you've got all the strong songs, the 2 songs from the single, followed by the 4 songs on the EP, in the same order that they appeared on the EP. And then on side 2, you've got the rest. And they've sequenced this in quite a good way, I think, starting out with Nightlife. And you've got the duets separated from each other. I like the way the album ends with The Lady Loves Me, although I think Nightlife would have been another good way to end the album as well. And you've got The Yellow Rose of Texas, probably the weakest song on the album, buried away in the middle there. I'll just show you the record. According to the hype sticker, it's 180 gram vinyl, and guess what? It actually is 180 grams. There it is. One thing that I was concerned about when I got the album was what were the mixes going to be like, because Viva Las Vegas, depending on what record you hear the songs on, sometimes it can be in mono, sometimes it can be in fake stereo, sometimes in real stereo. But I'm happy to say that all the songs are in true stereo. The mix is actually very similar to the one on this EP, which came out in the 1980s in the UK. This EP was part of a collection called the EP Collection Volume 2, and it was a bit of a big deal at the time because this EP featured what did I say, and Viva Las Vegas in stereo for the first time. And the mix is exactly the same on this EP as it is for all the tracks on the LP that we're talking about. Basically, the vocals, Elvis's vocals, are on either side. The backing vocals are on the right side, and the instruments are on the left side. Even Ann-Margret's duet vocals are basically all over on the right side. But it's a good, simple stereo mix. The sound quality is fine, but if I'm being perfectly honest, it doesn't sound any different to this one here. Incidentally, the back cover of the CD is the same as the LP, but the CD songs play in a different order. But of course, you can always program the CD to play in the same order as the LP. But I'm glad they sequenced the LP in the order that they did, because of course you can't mess about with the sequencing on LPs like you can on a CD. So to sum up, is it worth getting a copy of this album? Well, if you want all the Viva Las Vegas songs on one record, as I did, and if you can overlook the pretty boring back cover, as I have to, then I would say go for it. It's a great sounding album and it shouldn't cost a lot of money. That's it for this video. Any comments or questions, please drop them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Cheers. A few weeks ago, I ranked and reviewed all of the 16 or 17, I forget now. A few weeks ago, I ranked and reviewed all the Elvis Presley movie soundtrack albums from King Creole right through, no. A few weeks ago, I reviewed and ranked all of Elvis's movie soundtrack LPs, right from Loving You through to Speedway. And I'm going to add this Viva Las Vegas LP to the list. Maybe, oh, wait a minute, I'll put it up here where there's more space. And I'm going to put it up at number 6, just behind It Happened at the World's Fair, and in front of Fun in Acapulco.